Welcome to Market Buzz. I'm Greg Schnell, the Canadian technician and host of the Market Buzz. Each show we do a deep dive into different industries using weekly charts to see what is happening on a long timeline. Please follow me on Twitter at Schnell Investor, and you can also find my blogs on gregschnell.com as well as StockCharts.com. Well, the Nasdaq momentum seems effortless, and we're going to cover that off today. We're in some serious record-setting levels, so I thought I'd share that today. And again, if you've got any questions for me, you can always go over to the gregschnell.com website. You can reach me, info@gregschnell.com, or catch me on Twitter. Anyway, give me a shout if you need to speak with me. And if you're looking for the type of work we do, we provide a newsletter that goes out regularly. But today we're going to cover off the wonderment of the Nasdaq right now. And I think it's particularly compelling. We've had a remarkable recovery from where we were at. What I want to start on is this particular chart. And this is the chart of the Nasdaq going back. I'm just going to get rid of one thing here. The chart of the Nasdaq going back to 1986, basically since the Nasdaq started. And what I'd like to show on this particular chart is 3 or 4 different periods of interest. And so if we just take an annotation tool and just draw these ellipses, what I want to do is point to this point here, 1991, 1995, late 1998, and now. And what we've got is the momentum has reached over 8%. And what does that mean to me? Well, to me, what it shows me is a couple of things. When I go and I use a vertical tool on those different points, that does not suggest the end of the run by any stretch. It might suggest a pause in the run in multiple cases, but literally the 3 advances like that in the 90s, they were sideways corrections, and then the market just kept jogging higher. We haven't had this kind of bullish enthusiasm for 20 years. And with that, it does make you wonder how long it can keep going. And my mailbox is full of fellow technicians thinking this market has gone way too far too fast, but yet it keeps going. So here we have this weekly momentum, but when I convert this to monthly, it gets even more incredible. What you see is back in the 1990s, there was a 5-year period where this momentum was just normal. Like it literally kept rocketing higher. And on a monthly basis here, we've hit new 20-year highs in terms of a rising market. We were above that in 2000 and falling, but a rising market, we haven't had the PPO this high going all the way back till that 1995 juncture. And that to me would just suggest that perhaps, let's just save this as the monthly. That just says to me that with this sort of incredible momentum, I'm going to pick 13.806. What I want to show here, by the way, you use the colon sign down there. Just zoom in on that. That colon and then the word red just helps me identify the color. And I wanted red so it stood out better than blue or something like that. Just something different. But the point I want to make here is on this monthly chart, when you have this much momentum, it's not a place where we expect the market to fail from, believe it or not. And all the other ones have been sideways correction. So this is quite outstanding, and I can't help but be shocked by it. But at the same point in time, there has been a massive transition in the world to how business is going to be done online. And I think if we'd have had the pandemic in the early 90s, the problem we might have had would have been that we weren't all online. But now we are all online, and so it's literally enabled this whole thing to kind of continue with many people working from home and continuing to do their work. And it does seem to be a remarkable occurrence. But at this point, it would say, I don't have anything telling me not to not to expect higher prices, which is shocking. I must admit, I find it shocking. So what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of cover off some of the stocks that are weaker and just take a look at them, and then we're going to go to the bullish ones and finish up on the bullish ones. And I can't help but be amazed at how good these charts look on the really bullish ones. So let's just look at the ones we don't look at as often. And one of the things I want to point out is some of the travel stocks launched quite nicely last week on the back of the news that Abbott Labs had a new COVID test, $5.15, and so they were off to the races, and Abbott Labs pulled back hard on Tuesday, so I'm not sure what the reason for that pullback was, but if all of a sudden those travel stocks can start to move, I think that could be a real game changer, so that's something to watch for. Ulta, this chart is actually in an interesting situation for me, and the reason is I like to be aware of these long-term trends, and Ulta is just breaking out through the downtrend here, and perhaps it can start getting going to the upside. That would be quite nice, obviously. And again, on the other side, we had it this way, and when Ulta switched over, it was a pretty good clue to leave the party. This one suggests it might be a clue to just get there. Now, we do need to get above zero. That would be very important. And of course, with the COVID situation still existing, it seems early for this. But again, if they could do a test and make it safe for people very, very quickly, perhaps this stock can also break out a little bit faster. So I'm appreciative of the opportunity here that the chart is trying to tell us to get on board. That looks pretty good. Wynn Resorts, the stock is trending higher, much like the Marriott chart, but it hasn't really started to break out yet. So I'm watching that one a little bit more closely. Want to see that start to push up. Again, I would think all of these travel-related companies have been kind of held back, and now if they could get something to get their initiative or their inertia going higher, they have lots of room. Like this would be a double for American Airlines just to get back to the previous high, and that might be a stretch, but getting these all participating in the market could definitely propel us higher. So we'll keep watching. Another travel related name, Hasbro. This stock's been stuck sideways at $80 here for 6 or 8 weeks. Perhaps it can finally break out. PPO is almost getting positive. Fox Entertainment, this stock has had no love here, so it continues to drift sideways. Intel is probably one of the biggest shocks. When it fell here, it's down near the COVID lows, not too much off them. They were at 40, we're at 50, I guess, but the volatility around the lows, they really haven't held up very well at all. And this stock hasn't done anything for multiple years. So if there was a weak stock out there, Intel appears to be it. NetApp, this stock sideways, nothing really going on there. ADP, this stock is also, you got a downtrend here off the highs and a horizontal support. Just nothing to like about it. You do have this kind of downslope here that's starting to break. Maybe that could change the momentum, but it doesn't look very positive to me. Biogen, lots of good news out of here, but nothing really being able to move this stock. So anyway, Ross Stores sideways as well. Dentsply, this one's just probably because dentists aren't seeing people. Fiserv, sideways actually, which is quite amazing because it was on a big multi-year run there before and hasn't been able to get any inertia. If it could finally get that going, that might help a little bit. SiriusXM, nobody driving, so that stock seems stalled. Mylan, sideways. Gilead, another stock with some positive news out of it. It's Remdesivir, pharmaceutical drug for COVID. Doesn't seem to be able to move the name. If I'm not mistaken, that's a Gilead drug. And then Micron Technology, sideways at best. So a lot of people are looking at this one as a leading indicator, but I would just say there's a lot of other semiconductor stocks doing quite a bit better. Walgreens Boots Alliance, I actually picked this one to be one of the better performing stocks on the back of the whole COVID thing early in the year, thinking it could rally. Well, I can't believe how weak this is. This has just had no upside movement at all. So I'll definitely retract my power statement for that one. That one surprised me, just that I thought when we go into a pandemic, you'd see things like a Walgreens do pretty well, but obviously not. Cisco Systems, sideways. And again, this big drop here recently reminds me of Intel. Nothing really going on here, and the stock doesn't look that great. So those two big dogs that used to 20 years ago were big players haven't been able to get anything going. Western Digital, nothing really going on with this stock either, so it doesn't look that great. And BioMarine Pharmaceutical, this one really fell apart, so it had something going on and then literally broke down. So out of the whole group at the bottom here, I would say the travel-related names look like they could move up if we had some sort of a COVID solution. And then the second component would be that Ulta stock, which was a big high performer and has now started to underperform in a big way. I think we all know this company, Tesla. The stock has been up and away. And, people ask me what to do with it, and I'm thinking, well, if you hold it, be happy. But the other thing I would say is the stock was $50 not even a year ago. It's $500 now, so you've had a 10x on it. And, do you have a solution for how to get out of the stock? And I don't know that you need one yet, but I would just say that, when everything has gone parabolic. So what does parabolic mean? You have this sort of ramp rate. You just have to be cautious because that's unbelievable, the move on that one. And then you have the same thing in price. And these, again, I'm not trying to talk you out of the stock, but you need some method of holding on to this because you're up tenfold already. And then the question is, if it's in the 90s, it was even common to see Microsoft pull back 50%. Well, if Microsoft is going to pull back 50% and Tesla pulls back 50%, do you really need to ride through all that? And that would only get you back to last month's high. But it just kind of crazy to see how fast it's moving. The one place that I would use at least some filter is that if you started to break your uptrend and momentum, I'd be cautious. Again, if you're trying to find a way to exit it, if you just want to hold it forever, go ahead. That is just the difference between investing styles. But I would try to lock in some of that for me. Workday had a massive move and then is consolidating right here. So again, now we're in the top stocks and they're sorted in the order of best this month. So for the month of August, which ones moved the most? And here's Nvidia. I mean, that chart is really beautiful. What I like about it, well, it is parabolic a little bit. It looks more manageable. I guess it's still the 250 to 500, but it didn't do it all in 1 month. When you look at this big uptrend, I just think it's, a strong trend, and so no real reason to not like it there. JD.com, this one's also just a nice, simple, beautiful chart, trending higher. Apple, trending higher. Expedia, so this is one of the names that really started to move this month. And, I still like the name. I do think you want to see that COVID, at least a test for it, work quickly, and perhaps that can keep the stock rocking. This Lulu at 400 is just awesome. That's unbelievable. Here's Advanced Micro Devices, big trending level higher for multiple years. Adobe Systems, this one shocks me. This was 250 and it is now over 500. It just keeps continuing to push up. So quite amazing. Facebook, again, another one that just literally launched last month from 260 to 300. The trend is higher until it's not. Nothing to argue with there. Booking Holdings, the equivalent to Expedia, Priceline, and all of those names. Hotels.com, I think, continues to soar up and to the right. PPO is in positive territory, looks pretty strong here. Qualcomm just keeps taking off after this big lurching move to break out to new highs. It's just pushed up every week. Netflix soaring again right here. Continues to do well with the stay-at-home crowd. Texas Instruments, kind of an interesting name. Who thought this one would be pushing to new highs, but kind of broke through 4 weeks ago and just keeps pushing up. Avgo and Broadcom just starting to break out here. This looks very fresh and early. Intuit, another breakout stock just last week, taken off to new highs, so that one looks strong. Synopsys, breaking out of a 6-week consolidation, really nice move up. Starbucks Corp, I like this one. Big downtrend here, finally breaking through. That was on my pick from the Daily 5, I think at the beginning of August, and performed quite well. Norton LifeLock, this one keeps migrating higher, looks pretty good, nothing wrong with the stock. Google, Alphabet, breaking out 2 weeks ago and just continuing to push higher. Again, nice names in the space. Microsoft, it just climbs every week, I think. Keeps going and going and going. Had a nice week last week, jumping from 215 to 230. Keep pushing higher. Cintas Corp broke out to new highs 8 weeks ago, continues to push up. Microchip Technology, this one's horizontal at 110. I think you want to see a breakthrough before adding to any position here, but continues to, it wobbled a little bit here, and it looks like it's now back on its way, starting to head higher. Amazon's been an absolute gorilla, moving way up here to 3,500, so that's a remarkable move off the 1,750. Alexion Pharmaceuticals, this one trying to get a little bit of momentum this week. Full stochastic trying to turn up. That looks a little bit better. I like where it's turning up from. The PPO right at 0 here, so perhaps they've got something going on. CSX Corp, this one, the railroad, trying to break through all-time highs. Looks like it's about ready to do that. ASML Holdings, the semiconductor manufacturer. Charts consolidating nicely here for 5 weeks. Looks like it could make another leg up. JD Hunt Transportation, trucking off to the moon here. NXP Semiconductor, not quite through prior highs, but had a good August, rolling up quite nicely. A lot of the semis have been in the great space here. Mobile communications, T-Mobile, big push at the beginning of August and then not so much since. Is that changing? There we go. So here's Intuitive Surgical, pushing up to a new high. Very, very nice. Monster Beverage Corp, same thing here. Broke out 8 weeks ago and just keeps working its way higher. Costco, this was one of my picks on Daily 5, and it's starting to break out and done a really nice run here from 300 at the beginning of July to 350 now, so nice push. NetEase, consolidating really for 8 weeks. Nothing wrong with the charts. Momentum's nice and high. It just keeps working its way up. Mercado Libre, the big store in South America or Mexico, I believe, pushing up nicely. Wow, the chart's at $1,100, so it just keeps going. Autodesk consolidating for 10 weeks here. Probably need to see that break out. It's right at the top of the range. You want to see that continue. PayPal Holdings pushing up nicely. All these payment systems have done well. Charter Communications, this one broke out at 549 in early July, and just trying to step on the gas still here up at that was 549. We're at 617, so real big. Baidu, as you can tell, not a lot of momentum going on here. Some hope here that the PPO is actually starting to turn higher right away here. Perhaps it can start to get going, but it doesn't look like my favorite name in any of these spaces. Paychex, this one's consolidated sideways, just barely above its 200-day moving average or 40 weeks, so not that bullish. Looking in on Comcast Corp, we're sitting here sideways at 45. Nothing wrong with that. I think the real question is, can it break through and take out its prior highs? I mentioned Fox Entertainment earlier, and this whole space in here seems very crowded with a lot of the different entities, so I'm not sure that that's a place that I would hone my efforts to try and make bigger profits in. Fastenal, this chart just keeps working, consolidating for 4 or 5 weeks and having a nice push this week so far. Take-Two Interactive Software, all the gaming names have really done well. This one had a big thrust 5 weeks ago and is consolidating inside that range. Mondelez International, nothing to really talk about here. When the stock scale goes from 42 to 58, and Tesla's kind of doing that per hour, so seems like a little bit too slow. And then here's KLA Corp Semiconductors, just holding sideways for 8 weeks. Nothing really obvious or bullish there. Here's Cerner Corp sideways for 8 weeks. Nothing going on there. Cadence Design Systems, I like the way this one's got a gentle trend higher. Looks easier to hold. Align Technologies, this one right at prior resistance would be very close to 2-year highs if it get a little thrust here, so be watching for that. Analog Devices in around 120, looks like resistance, needs to start pushing through. Amgen, this chart's actually quite choppy. I don't like the way it kind of rolls. I guess it's $10 rolls compared to the $50 rolls you get in some of the bigger names, but it is still trending higher. It's holding above its 40-week moving average. So far, everything's pushing higher. PACCAR, the heavy truck equipment, breaking through $80 here. It's just consolidating after this big push, I want to say 2 months ago, and then holding up sideways. Nothing wrong with it. The chart looks great, and we saw the truckers breaking out on JD Hunt earlier. Maximum Integrated Products, this one's holding sideways for 8 weeks, still looks okay. VeriSign really caught in a big sideways consolidation here at around 200. Want to get through that 220 level and finally break out to new highs. Citrix Systems, this one's interesting because they have the GoToMeeting software, and yet we don't have any big breakout on the stock, so it's just holding sideways, so it really didn't do nearly as well as Zoom Technologies. Vertex Pharmaceuticals, sideways for 4 or 5 months, nothing to really enjoy there. Pepsi trying to break through all of the prior highs here. Looks just average. And again, one of the big things I haven't seen is a rotation into consumer staples at all, or utilities. So when we get through the end of this, perhaps we'll be able to, I'll take a few minutes and just talk to that briefly. Here's Checkpoint Software. What we see is it's pushing back up again here. It broke out to new highs above the 132. No, not quite. Needs to go a little bit more to get through the 132 high. Skyworks Solutions, been a beautiful chart. $67 to 150. Really nice move. Activision Blizzard, this one's up at 85. Again, all of these gaming stocks have done pretty well. This one makes me start to wonder a little bit, and I'll just show you why. We've had a big 2-year uptrend on this stock, and I probably don't want to see that momentum start to break just yet. So that would be one thing I'd kind of watch for to make sure it can keep going. If it starts to struggle, maybe take some of the profits out of it and make sure locked in some gains. Don't want to see a big year-long trend in momentum crack. And then Kraft Heinz here. I think I lost my 10 per page. Kraft Heinz stuck here just barely above its 52-week high. Nothing really to report there. Dollar Tree. Some of the dollar names have been doing okay lately, but last week was a real big outside candle on this, and it's not getting any love this week. So PPO has been weak for years. Probably I'd let somebody else own that. The stock hasn't done anything either. IDEX Laboratories, this has been a nice climb, consolidating for 6 weeks here, and looks like it's starting to break out of the flag, as you can see on the Zoom panel. Verisk Analytics, the chart's still pushing higher, and it's got a nice big uptrend. I must admit it does have some pretty big pullbacks in it, but chart looks okay, nothing wrong with it. Liberty Global, again, communication services and entertainment, not really doing that great. Willis Towers Watson, this one, it was on the scanner for big gains shortly after the big pullback for COVID, and yet it hasn't done anything since then. So, and again, the scale here goes from 130 to 210, which is, I'll call it 50%, whereas, Tesla is a 10x move. So really a bit of a surprise there. O'Reilly Automotive broke out to new highs and then consolidated for 6 weeks. We need to see that stock get going. Xilinx, again, broke out and then consolidate here. Lots of consolidations. Probably need to see those follow through if the market's going to keep going higher. See all these patterns repeating over and over and over again. So broke out, 6 weeks consolidation. Need to see that continue to race up. Electronic Arts, it's been sideways for 2 months now here as a gaming software. So that's another name that we should probably talk a little bit about and just see. I thought all of these would surge higher for year end, trying to come down. Maybe they're getting a little bit of heat over the whole Apple pushback. So it could be one of the areas in the market there. Here's eBay after having a big vertical push at the beginning of March and then getting all the way up to $60 from 25, pulling back to 52 here and now starting to spend time below the 10-week moving average. So there might be a clue there of a little bit of weakness. Applied Materials briefly broke out and then pulled back for 4 weeks, so not that much going on there. And this Henry Schein, nothing really happening there. Stock hasn't done anything for years. INC Corp or INCY Corp Insight, gently moving higher, but not that outstanding really. I think the immediate gain was 3 weeks up and then really nothing for 4 months. So not exactly motivating somebody to go buy the stock. Regeneron, another big name that had started off with some strong horsepower in the COVID situation, but we go back to the beginning of June and we haven't made any headway, and we've spent 3 or 4 weeks below the 10-week moving average. Illumina pushed up, broke down in early August and has not recovered, so another name just paused here. Lam Research moving below the 10-week moving average, not that positive. Stock's still okay. It's in an uptrend, but I probably don't want to see it get any weaker than it is here. Okay, the one other thing that I'd like to just show and just see if I can find it quickly. Don't see it. I thought I had a chart out. I don't. I'm just going to go make it XLP to XLK. And the reason I want to show this chart is over the last year, this has been, the chart's been underperforming quite dramatically. And one of the things that we always think about when a market corrects is that when we get these big corrections, people will move into staples. Well, we didn't have that this time. And one of the things I wonder about is technology. All of the software is sold with a monthly subscription now, and that seems to be helping smooth out their earnings, much like the earnings stream you would have got from a utility in the past. So where during the 2000 and the 2008 rallies, money moved towards those, we haven't seen that at all in this whole period. And I think it might be because of that change in trend for the income streams of technology. So you're getting capital growth as well as utility like free cash flow or regular cash flow. Anyway, think about that one. Thank you for taking the time to join me on Market Buzz. Market Buzz airs Wednesdays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. You can also see the recording on StockChartsTV YouTube page. Feel free to head over to gregschnell.com, see if there's anything there that interests you, and thanks for taking the time to listen in. Bye-bye.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with Stock Charts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're going to bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.